what if the
Now
ploy
we're
isn't?
live.
What if the ploy isn't necessarily to have the sympathy vote? What if it's actually to win the women over by having Bill knocked off?
I mean, it could work. If a
Twisted
lot of people are
backwards.
saying, I would vote for Bill. I mean, I would vote for Hillary, but I hate Bill Clinton. I don't know if that happens though, because Bill was the likable one of the two of them.
Well, that's not. It's like saying I'd rather be molested than raped.
Yeah, well, heavy.
I mean,
literally,
literally, that's like saying I'd rather be molested than raped.
but that is kind of what our election comes down to. You're just trying to figure out which one's going to give you the heavy pat and which one's going to give you the penetration. Like, I think that's what. And meanwhile, you got creepy Gary in the corner go, come on, feel the Johnson.
I love it. All right. That's so bad. Oh, shit.
It's so
no, the
true.
scary part is it's not, even if it's not like 100% true, like it's not far off enough that you'd be like, like those people are crazy.
No, I mean, like, what I like about Gary is Gary has taken a lot of good pictures of him standing next to famous people.
Is he a tourist?
Light and facial expressions with great headlines. Now his interviews still suck.
Yeah.
But just the headshot CNN is using is infinitely better than the one they've been stealing from the 1990s.
Yeah, where he's got it's almost like a halfway between a pompadour and whatever the fuck the guy from Greece had.
Yeah, and no, like Jordan D. Zalowski was commenting on it, going like, "Man, that's a great picture of Gary." I'm like, "Yeah, I haven't even read the article, but I just shared this because I really like the picture."
Well, I don't want to read the article, but the pictures are great.
The picture and the headline are great.
So bad. It's bad that that's as good PR.
Look, Liberty Coast to Coast Confidential. I share Gary Johnson articles based on their headlines. I don't read them. I don't think I've read, I think of maybe the 30 articles I've shared since the convention, I've maybe read 2. Maybe 2. And those are the positive ones.
I can't make it past the pictures.
Listen, vote for Gary. Vote for him.
I'm literally in tears.
People watching this, still vote for Gary. He's still not Hillary or Trump, but God damn it. He's got a great headshot with CNN.
Oh, we're gonna start this live, and I'm gonna have fucking red eyes because I've been crying laughing for 10 minutes.
We are live.
No, I know, but what I'm talking about when it comes into like our actual podcast, I'm gonna have red puffy eyes because I've been fucking crying and laughing for 10 minutes before.
This is live. This is uncut. This is raw. In the words of Bill O'Reilly, fuck it, we're doing it live. This is good stuff.
All right, I think we're ready to actually get the show on the road, though. What do you say?
Oh, I thought we were already on the road.
Oh no, we're on the road. Don't talk about my roads, but I mean actually like getting ready to pretend like we do something for real. What?
I feel triggered right now.
Oh boy.
A lot of mention of roads.
Would you get banned from Twitter?
What did he actually get banned for?
He got because he says the same shit he always says. That's why he got banned.
But what in specific did he say? Because I've been trying to find that tweet for the last 3 hours.
It's not. I don't think he got banned for what he said. He got banned for what his people were saying. And the funny thing is that Leslie Jones, and this is Milo for anybody who is listening to our pre-cut. Leslie Jones had made some fucking far more racist things than anything that's been said to her. But the problem is Milo doesn't bitch about it.
No, but was Leslie Jones the one that was saying she wanted to kill the Marine's mother that was speaking out against Hillary?
They all say shit like that. I don't remember if that was her specific, but at the same time, like for anybody who doesn't know who Leslie Jones is, she's the fat black chick in the new Ghostbusters movie that nobody saw. That made like $144 million price tag on the movie, and they made like $12.5 million on opening weekend.
Look, do you know how we know that movie was garbage? Even NPR was like, it was a good movie, but it didn't need to be Ghostbusters. They kind of just ruined it. That's NPR. That's SJW Broadcasting Central.
Man.
Who's listening, I just went through a move. I haven't had internet. I have been reduced to getting my liberal opinions from NPR.
My liberal opinions.
Well,
are you socially liberal? Is that what you're telling us?
I'm socially awkward.
Oh.
Yeah. Are we actually gonna do a cut till we start, or we just gotta play it raw and raw?
Well, I want to say the whole welcome. I want to play the whole like, hey, we kind of know what we're doing with the intro part. Just like, hey guys, welcome back to our bullshit show. Here we go.
Oh, and I would like to mention in the show when we actually get serious after we do our bullshit intro.
And for everybody listening, when we say get serious, we just mean actually stick to one topic.
Yes. I'm pissed that I wasn't in any of the shots, but the BLM protest in Portland, I was there because I got stuck in traffic leaving for work, got out of my car and started shouting at these dirty hippies. And guess what I did? I played a game. And this is not racist. I played Count the Black People. Okay?
I counted
5.
You live in Maine.
5.
Of course there were 5. You live in Maine.
Yes. It's a very easy game to play. It doesn't take much energy.
It snows and there's water.
Yes.
So
that's it.
You're lucky that there's 5.
Yeah, but you know what's the best thing is
that I can never run for anything now.
Oh, dude, that's why I think I came out. I don't know if it was episode 1 or 2. I said it's okay. I can say whatever I want. I'm never running for office. My own party won't even nominate me.
Yeah. I'm more a pariah than Gary Johnson. Or what else? Who else is fucking there? It doesn't matter. All right, let's do this thing then.
Okay, we'll be real.
Do you wanna do the cut? You want me to do it?
Who did the last one?
I think I started it. You closed it, but it doesn't really make a difference.
You want to do like a Gary Johnson, Bill Weld, where we both do it at the same time awkwardly?
Yes. Yeah.
So
do you want to do like
I say we're Liberty coast to coast, and I'll be like we're coast to coast Liberty, and then we'll have this awkward moment in the middle of the CNN town hall where we look back at each other and we're like, I know we're not on the same page, but this is a lie.
Fuck it. Okay, let's.
We're having way too much fun for something that's supposed to be a professional cut. Mazzarona's got pull.
Oh God. All right, so let's do. I'll do the welcome back to Liberty Coast to Coast with Keith and Cody, and you'd be like, well, no, Cody and or something. I don't know. We can fucking do whatever. Just jump in however you want to, and then we'll somehow fucking flow into our show.
We're co-presidents.
Yeah,
of our network.
We're significant others.
Our love has just been forbidden by the GOP platform.
Oh boy! All right. So let's go.
I don't even know where I am anymore.
Me neither. I don't know what anything is anymore. Nothing matters. Nothing's real.
This is what happens when we take a week off from planning because I move and stuff.
Yeah, this is what happens when Keith has no internet access.
Yeah, you know what I've had to do? Instead of trolling people on Facebook, I have now seen, like, I had yesterday, and this is going to be a story, and we're going to make a cut. This is going to be great. You're going to cut that part out, and then you're going to cut this part out, and we're going to keep, okay, anyways. So I knock at the door, right? And I see about a 25 to 30-year-old, slightly overweight, blue-haired woman holding a clipboard. And I thought it was goddamn Christmas because I haven't taken down SJW since like this weekend. And she comes to my door and she goes, oh, I'm doing work for Ballot Access. I go, oh, maybe there's hope. Maybe she's one of ours. No. She goes on and goes, yeah, I'm fighting against the injustice of the workers' tipped wage. Servers only get paid $3.75 an hour. And I just ripped into her over about 15 minutes. I'll give her I'll give her a little bit of credit. She put up with it.
Did she do the Trigglypuff?
She didn't do the Trigglypuff.
Damn it.
But she was crying when she left. And I shouted, "Run back to Bernie! He's sitting in the unemployment line."
In Hillary Clinton's unemployment line, nonetheless.
Yeah, no, it was amazing, and I had so much fun. I was all fired up, and my parents were like, "Is that what you do?" I'm like, "That is my life in a nutshell."
That is how I make my living.
Like they didn't even know I was still alive for like the last like 3 years, and all of a sudden, I'm just like, I need a place to set my shit, and they're just like, okay. And then I'm chasing off people like, you should have been nicer to her. She's cute. She's politically active. You should have asked her out. I'm like, no. Republican girls are at least hotter and usually have money. Libertarian girls are best, but they're like unicorns. Though there's we know the small concentration of them are in the AP wing of the LP. That's why we're there. And like
strictly AP for the women.
But if I had a nickel, okay, for every time I've had a petitioner or run into a petitioner, that their maneuver is, here's my clipboard, here's my cleavage. Don't worry about what I'm saying, just sign it. And how they think that will work on a libertarian. It will not work on a libertarian. Your tits have no effect here.
Not unless they can speak Austrian economics.
No, I mean, look, if she had taxation as theft across her tits, they'd be more effective.
We're never getting hired anywhere.
No. I mean, I hope he's not watching. Whoever.
This better take off for us because we're fucked.
You see that right there? We're appealing to Rubio supporters. I can do it too. All right. Let's get real.
We'll do 3-second pause for flat air, and then we will. I'll do the intro, and you just fucking, if you want to cut in and make it some kind of nonsense.
I'm not knowing what to do with my hands. All right. Hands across America, coast to coast.
You ready? 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Deep breaths. That's not helping. I'm gonna have to take my headphones off so if you start laughing, I don't laugh.
I'm sorry, I'm going all Jimmy Fallon on us right now.
Yeah, no shit. All right.
I haven't earned that yet.
Not even close. You kind of look, that's almost a big mistake. You don't look like him.
No, I try not to. Every morning I get up and I go, thank God I'm not Jimmy Fallon.
Have to wear that fucking cast on your finger for months. All right, for reals this time. Here we go.
All right. I'm just going to think about James Weeks, and that's going to kill my mood.
Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back to Liberty Coast to Coast with Keith and Cody. We've got lots to talk about today.
Cody and Keith.
Oh,
we're co-presidents of this show. We make the decisions together, even though we don't always agree. We have that in common with Johnson and Weld. Yeah. Sorry, go on, co-president.
My apologies. I guess you can tell that we are significant others, maybe. Maybe that's a better word for it. I don't know. No, we got lots to talk about today, Keith. I don't know if you've been paying attention. I know you've been away from the internet, but the RNC convention took place in Cleveland, Ohio. It's been quite the shit show, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Carey once said Cleveland rocks, but I've been watching this, and I think, there's been some ups, there's been some downs. I've been trying to still figure out who the fuck Mike Pence is. As far as I can tell, he's the closest thing we're going to ever get to a Donald Blythe in real life. Let's see, what else?
I would just say, in comparison to what we've seen thus far and the things that we're going to cover, we were both at the convention floor in Orlando for the Libertarian Party, and there was some decent criticism. There was some decent criticism for, having a naked fat guy up on stage stripping, and for some other slight little issues.
James Week is embarrassing compared to anything Trump has done at this convention?
No, I don't. It's not even necessarily just Trump, but the nonsense that has gone on, both parliamentary and some of the tactics that have been used. I will gladly repeat the Libertarian National Convention in terms of how smoothly it ran, the controlled chaos, and the way that everything was treated for the most part. I think we can both agree that the LNC's convention, and Nick Sarwark would tell you that if you guys saw his tweets, that the LNC ran a much better convention than the RNC did.
This is true. And I gotta give him a shout out. He did a very good job. I mean, there was that one time he had to use the bathroom, and yeah, Weeks did his little dance. But if that's the worst thing that's gonna happen, at least we don't have people doing Hitler Heils. We don't have people booing the Constitution. We don't have death threats. I mean,
yeah, it blows my mind.
All reasons to be proud. I don't know about anyone else listening, but I have never been more proud or more sure of my decision to leave the GOP than I was right after Trump finished his final speech this evening.
I will concur on that statement. And to kind of preface what we're going to talk about in terms of the day-by-day breakdown of what happened at the RNC, I kind of want to lead in with the tweet that chairman of the Libertarian National Party, Nicholas Sarwark, actually tweeted out a couple days ago. And it was a little video of an elephant named Tipsy. And his direct quote was, "We haven't seen the murder of an elephant quite this bad since Tipsy." And Thomas Edison was not elected president. So
it's true. And for those of you who don't know, Tipsy was basically Thomas Edison's Cecil the Lion.
Yeah, it wasn't a good happening in terms of that PETA would have lost their shit over this. But they lose their shit over everything, so I really don't know what difference that makes. Anyway, so if that is any way to preface what we're about to talk about, if that gives you kind of any inkling about how bad this possibly could have been, just wait till we actually get into it. Because it blew me away, and it all happened day one. Like day one, just the shit show began, and it started tumbling quickly. So let's get into this, Keith. Day one was, if most people don't know, the vote on parliamentary rules, the rules that bound the convention. And each party goes through this. They have a committee deciding the rules a week before, roughly, I think. Right, Keith? I would say the LNC kind of has something similar.
I know they've been working on the platform for a while, but if Tampa was any indication, we know the rules are up. They don't really matter. I realize that's a really cynical view, but as someone who watched the 2012 convention unfold and then watched this one unfold, nothing changed. The rules were written to serve a very clear purpose before going in. If you watch this convention, this was Donald Trump's convention. This was written by his people. This was performed by his people. And you might have also noticed it was terribly organized to the point where you think, geez, all the quality people that normally would at least set up the entertainment, they were nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll get into how orchestrated it was. And to start, let's talk about the very first instance that they had of some kind of controversy. And obviously, the Never Trump people there were trying to get a change in the rules to unbind the delegates. Obviously, that ended up failing. But what kind of took place in between that was sort of shocking. So during this part, the chairman, who would be Paul Ryan of Wisconsin, was delegating his duty to the deputy chair, Steve Womack, a representative out of Arkansas. And before they started their vote on the convention rules, they decided that they were going to try to, the Never Trumpers decided they were going to try to petition or get enough states to petition to have a roll call vote, meaning each state would come up, they'd announce how many votes they had for yes, and they'd have announce how many votes they had for no, and there'd be an actual tally of the real votes. And it takes 7 states under the GOP platform or GOP convention rules to do this. Supposedly, they had 9 petitions signed, and then they suddenly had 3 disappear. And nobody knows where they went or which 3 disappeared. The RNC hasn't released any of that information. But beyond that, there were also petitions that weren't accepted. But before we get there, we'll just talk about how this vote actually ended up taking place. So they petitioned for this, supposedly had the votes. Turns out that they didn't for some strange reason. And it goes to a voice vote. And for anybody who doesn't know what a voice vote, Keith, you want to give them a demonstration? Essentially, that's how they decide.
It. And you put 100 Trumpers in a room, all just doing guttural sounds like that. I don't know how you get a realistic vote.
You have no idea. And when you're voting on something that big, I think it's important to know the opinions of all the delegates.
Yeah, and you're not going to hear Bill Kristol over in the corner whimpering, "Nay." Like, you're not going to hear him. You're not, or nay. Like, you're not. It's not a reasonable way to handle professional business.
Absolutely not.
In a group of 10 or less people, sure, you can kind of figure it out. In a group of 20 or more people, okay, now you're kind of pushing it. Any more than 50 people, though, take that to a roll count, a head count. Make it legit.
Make it transparent. Yeah, absolutely. So when they called for this, Steve Womack, who is the deputy chair now presiding, goes, "All right, all ayes," and they speak. And then he said, "All nays," and they speak. But the problem is he never silenced the crowd. He never told everybody to stop talking so they could actually get a quote unquote fair observation of the people voting. And literally, probably as I was watching it, if I had to estimate, 15 to 20 seconds, the ayes have it, and they passed the rules, the convention for the rules. Baffling, because clearly there was no way to tell who voted where, who said what. But beyond this, it comes to light that not only did they have the 9 petitions supposedly signed when they only needed 7 to push the roll call, North Dakota and Alaska both had their petitions not be accepted. So they had petitions ready to go, which would have put them, even with the 3 removed, back over the top of the 7, right? And from North Dakota, they said that their petition just wasn't accepted. And in terms of Alaska, it was even worse than that. They said that they went to turn their petition in to the secretary, Keith. They went to go find her to turn in their petitions. And when they went to where the secretary is supposed to be to accept these petitions, she was nowhere to be found. Some were even quoted as saying that security told them to go away. So then they thought, hey, let's go to the stage. They found another way that they could possibly turn this petition in. They go up to the front stage and they start waving it around in front of, Reince Priebus and anybody who's on stage to get their attention that, hey, we have this petition to turn in. And they were ignored. So they thought, okay, point of order. Let's call a point of order. Let's bring this to address. Somebody walks up to the mic and the mic is off. They were never addressed. They were never urged. And there are articles. I have plenty of notes in regards to this. So it was pretty phenomenal to me to see the lack of transparency that went on in the first day of the convention.
And the GOP is supposed to be the party of law and order. This is not law. This is not order. They are behaving like Democrats. This is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught it, but did you notice the music selection choices when they were trying to calm the audience during this whole debacle? They ironically played "Happy Together" by the Turtles. I actually have it queued up here. I'm sorry not to give you the heads up before, but I found this remarkably hilarious. Oh, just kidding. That's an ad.
Whoops. As you can tell, we're not the most tech savvy yet. We're still learning this. And Keith looks like he's tech savvy, but sometimes, he will fool you by misrepresenting with his clothing what he really is.
Yeah, you can put lipstick on a pig, but
do you want to sing the song? Would that make it easier? Go ahead. Go. Let's hear a little rendition.
I don't think we're gonna get that. We got to keep the few viewers we have.
All right. So back to what we were talking about in terms of the intransparency or untransparency of the RNC convention and the way that they handle this. So this all happens. Obviously, they weren't recognized. They didn't get the petitions in. The vote happens, and they approved the rules that would bind the convention. Right after this happens, on camera, you can watch people from the Colorado delegation literally walking out of the place. They were just done. They walked out. They were tired of it, and I don't blame them. When it's not even about being never Trump at this point. It's about being able to have an honest discussion within your party. And it's something that we've seen time and time again from people on Trump's, on the Trump Trump wagon or whatever the Trump train. There's no room for dissent. They don't allow for dissent. You can't criticize. You can't say anything is negative. There's no room for it with them. I don't know if you've had experience with that, Keith, but I have people in my own family who have criticized me for criticizing Trump.
It's difficult because these people, I don't know if it's because they see Trump as the shadow cast by Hillary, but once they have sunk their teeth into Trump, logic goes out the window. And, I think there are a few reasons why people could pragmatically get behind Trump, but they're so far and stretched. I've been working on a little theory, and I told you about this earlier. The whole "let's make America great again." Personally, I'm insulted by that. To me, America is still great. It's friggin' awesome. But
absolutely,
he keeps going on, and he keeps making these terribly hyperbolic statements, and keeps talking about building walls. And you get all these liberal commentators saying, "Well, if Trump's elected, I'm moving to Canada," which is really funny because Canada is way whiter than America, but we won't get into the hypocrisy there. But if all these people actually follow through, and you think about all the illegal immigrants who are listening to Trump, listen to him and say, "Oh, crap, he's going to send around the deportation squad," they might actually self-deport. You may have two groups actually leave the U.S. completely independent of Trump signing a single law if he were elected. And in that sense, he could make America great again. And I've heard Republicans tote this argument as a cultural battle, and they believe that alone is enough to fight for. And once you've come to that conclusion, it's really difficult to even base it in something like the Constitution, which used to be the backbone of the GOP, or at least my short time in the GOP, I was there for the Constitution, and I was there for the Pauls. That was the party I wanted. They were that was the gray goose at the party.
Right, and I saw this explained for those of you guys who didn't know. The GOP actually elected their first their first delegate on the Rules Committee who was openly gay. And she kind of said the same thing. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was basically talking about she came to the GOP because they were the party of limited government, of do what you do because you're the individual and you're in control of that. But she also said, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't the party that I believed I was a part of. There are things that are radically changing in terms of what's happening with the GOP that people like you and I, Keith, when we came in, that wasn't what we asked for. That's not what represented us, right? We believe in things more intrinsically than it has to be the GOP. We're not GOP, or we weren't GOP because of the GOP. We were the GOP because of the principles it supposedly stood for. When we realized that those had been abrogated, there was no reason left to stay.
And Brown used to say, you got to be wary of Republicans. They campaign like libertarians, and they govern like Democrats. And, I kind of held my nose because of the Pauls for a while, but after a certain point, you just can't do it anymore. And I think to the people who were associated with the Republican Liberty Caucus, I think this convention needs to be the wake-up call. I mean, we had someone receiving death threats for refusing to cast a vote for Trump.
Yeah, it was a Utah delegate, actually a very, very attractive young lady, too, coming out of the Utah delegation who said she was cornered in a bathroom. And I'll read you exactly what the story was. According to NBC, Kara Berkland used the restroom at the Republican National Convention and emerged to a group of Donald Trump supporters threatening to kill her unless she leaves the state of Ohio, where the convention is taking place. That's directly out of an NBC report. And if you guys hadn't seen it, it was also reported by LibertyViral.com. That's where I've got my source from. But that kind of stuff is kind of leads back to what we're talking about. They're not transparent. They're not okay with dissent. They're not okay with a differing opinion. You must fall in line with the Trump train or be ostracized. And worse than ostracized, you might be threatened to your life, right?
Now, if we keep following this thought, and I think we have to go to last night's events. I have never been historically a huge fan of Ted Cruz. There's some things I like about him. There's some
I would
things
agree.
I don't like about him. I don't want to make the sand glow, but I liked where he stood on the ACA. Well, last night, I really liked where he stood because he went out there and he didn't ask people to vote for him. He didn't ask people to vote for Donald Trump. He said, look at the down ballot candidates. Please go out and vote. And most importantly, vote your conscience and vote for whoever will uphold the Constitution. To which he was booed. I mean, this was the headline of the Boston Herald this morning. Like, this is insane. This is insane.
And,
Who's Cruz?
The funny thing is we talk about how orchestrated this was, right? Like, we talk about how everything that happened at this convention was planned. Trump's speech, or Trump's people approved Cruz's speech. They approved it. He had the speech prior to going out there. He had given it to the Trump campaign for approval. They said, yeah, go out there and do it. They knew full well what he was doing. And this is another quote out of the Daily Wire saying, Trump operatives were present urging the crowd to boo. This was orchestrated by the Trump campaign to make Senator Cruz a pariah within the party. And, if you guys don't understand what's happening here, Trump started his campaign about how corrupt, how unbelievably unjust political parties were. Until the point where he became the controller of the political machine, he stood against it. But now that he represents everything that the party wants, supposedly, he's using that machine to coerce dissent away from him. He literally they had people whipping boos against him, right?
Yeah, it's insane.
What kind of, it's literally, and I made this argument to somebody the other day, in accordance to Trump. It used to be a closed ceremony, right? Nobody understood the parliamentary rules. Nobody understood what was going on. And then Trump steps in, he starts bringing a light to it, right? He starts taking, the way I explained it, he starts taking the layers off the house. So that way you can start to see more and more inside of what's happening. So now the expression that I've been using is, for so long, it was just corruption inside of a house. Well, now at least it's a glass house. We can see inside the house. We can see how orchestrated and planned out everything is. We can see how ridiculously planned and set up each moment has become. I mean, even going down to, Keith, we were talking earlier about his wife's speech, right?
Now, I would love to talk about that because as a salesman and as someone who's pitched a lot of things, I actually have to say that was an orchestrated maneuver. There's no doubt in my mind that there was no accident there. I think he purposely, and I think he brilliantly did it. And excuse me for praising Trump on his salesmanship, but having his wife plagiarize the first lady was an incredibly strong maneuver. Because what happened the next day? Everybody ran with the story. Everybody talked about the current first lady and compared her to the prospective first lady. And you have CNN, you have NBC, you have ABC, you have Liberty Viral, all putting side-by-side pictures of Hillary, sorry, not Hillary, I keep thinking of her as a first lady, but maybe, think about it. No one thinks about Bill. You can't put Bill in this situation. But it's Michelle and Milena. It's Michelle and Milena. There is no spouse on the DNC side for them to, besides Michelle. Meliana. Okay. I don't care. She's not my first lady. But no, it's a brilliant maneuver where before she was kind of an afterthought and people knew her for a couple of racy photo spreads. But this literally cast her as a potential first lady, where before she was just eye candy.
Trump has kind of perfected. He's perfected there is no such thing as bad press.
No, and he's amazing at it. I mean, if he was whipping the booze and he was doing that planned, it brings it full circle.
Yeah.
But I gotta wonder. I really do have to wonder, and CNN picked up on this today. Was Ted Cruz telling us to vote for Gary Johnson?
It sounded like it. Who backs the Constitution? It's not Hillary. It's not Trump. It's not Jill Stein.
I've seen Bill Weld waving a Constitution at Donald Trump in a press conference. I mean,
he might want to wave that at Gary every once in a while too.
Well, yeah, well, I'll just tell Gary it's right next to his phone. It's around here somewhere.
We'll get
Hold
to that
on.
in a minute.
Hold
we'll
on.
get to that at the end. Let's try to stay on track because that's a whole nother story that we could talk about. But yeah, you know, I agree. He mentioned, you know, talking about I don't know what to do with my hands. It all comes full circle with that. When you're talking about how orchestrated everything is, he is the master of orchestrating even bad press. And you know, it leads back to everything he's done throughout this entire campaign to build his press. Any way he could to get himself in the limelight, he's used. And that's why it's kind of worrisome when he does say things that are positive, because we don't know if whether he's using that to rile up the base or whether he means something. And unfortunately, based on his track record and things that he's believed in the past, I don't believe a damn thing he says.
Right. I mean, he got loud cheers tonight when he said an end to nation building. 2 lines later, he goes, "We're going to punish China." I mean, maybe we're just going to go into nation bombing, not nation building. What I heard sounded like a declaration of war against China. I mean,
yeah, he's had a weird fascination with China. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of great grief to be had with China, but he has had since his interview with Oprah back in like 1988. He's had this weird like pinpoint direct anger. I don't know if like he was supposed to adopt a Chinese baby and then they took it away from him. I don't know what happened, but he has this fixation on the Chinese. I mean, beyond anything else going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe it's a business partner thing. They are the largest competing market out there. It does make sense from a business standpoint that he would hold grudges, but still, the promises he's making, I even have to wonder, and I brought this point up to you when we were watching the final statements he had tonight. He was talking about, we're not going to let businesses leave. Well, that makes me wonder, is this wall to keep the illegal immigrants out, or is it to keep the Americans from running?
Well, I hope what people understand when they hear that is the fact that he's not going to allow businesses to make decisions based on what is best for them. If what is best for you is to get out of the corporate tax rate that we have in the United States because it is so damn high, and to go somewhere else where it may be lower to bring better goods to the American people, why is that not a viable option? Why do we have to be so protectionist on our goods that now the government has a right to tell you where and where you cannot do business? That in and of itself should be a disqualifier for President of the United States, because it does not allow you to have the sovereignty to do with what you want with your property.
Yeah, and I didn't hear it in this speech, but I've heard him in other things. He's even waffled on the minimum wage, where he's not only telling businesses they can't leave, but he's telling them he's going to raise the minimum wage. Well, how do you have your cake and eat it? I mean, I thought we had a choice between the Dems and the Republicans. I mean, that's what they said, but they're both for trade protectionism. They're both for raising the minimum wage. I don't see the difference here.
Well, he's also the king of speaking out of both sides of his mouth, because if you watched his speech tonight, everybody's up there cheering and celebrating with every word that comes out of his mouth. But what they're not realizing is he's not saying anything. He's saying what they want to hear, but he's not giving you how he's going to implement anything. He even talked about, he's like, I will get to how I will implement my economic plan. I will get to that. He never got there. He never talked about what his ideas. I mean, he'll say in a platitude version of what he thinks he can do, but he doesn't talk about how to actually go about doing so. And he hasn't done this his entire campaign. There has not been a moment where I've been, that is a substantive idea from Donald Trump. I haven't had that moment. I've had it from others, but not from Donald. And that's really worrisome to me, because that lets him have the leeway he expects to have to do with what he needs to. I mean, 60 Minutes, in his interview with 60 Minutes with Mike Pence the other day, he said that he'll only uphold the Constitution when it's beneficial for him. And there's still people in the Republican Party who sit there and rah-rah over the Constitution.
Yeah. A lot of Republicans have some very serious decisions to make. I mean, Mike Lee, I know, is up for re-election. He had one of his delegates threatened. He has abstained from endorsing, and I say good for him. I think Rand Paul made a terrific decision. He decided to skip the entire carnival altogether, and he's doing pro bono surgeries in Kentucky. He's, you got Donald Trump at the convention leading the blind, and then you got in Kentucky Rand Paul, the guy who should have been the nominee. And I think both you and I and a lot of our listeners can agree on that.
I think a lot of people in the LP
healing the blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys, you Republicans, you blew it. You had a great opportunity in someone like Rand Paul, and you blew it. Hell, you had a decent opportunity in someone like Ted Cruz. You blew that too.
Well, at least he's the conservative, and I'm not a conservative, and you're not a conservative, but at least he stands for what the party is supposed to be, right?
Yes.
He's not somebody who has been for abortion. He's not somebody who's been for minimum wage or for government health care. He hasn't stood for those things. Donald Trump, on the other hand, has, and it's kind of interesting to watch the tribe just go to bat for him no matter what. And I made a post last night. I don't know if you got to see it since you've been living in the Stone Age for the past week. I made a post that it's funny that growing up, your parents and your family always tell you, be who you want to be, come and become the person that you want to be. They kind of beat that innate individualism in you. Why? Because it's part of our founding. That is a very, very American principle. Now we live in a world where being an individual and standing on your convictions makes you a pariah. It makes you somebody to be hated. It makes you somebody that can't be trusted. It makes you somebody that has to sit outside the social norm. And that, to me, is a very, very scary thing, not just in terms of where the country's headed, but in terms of the protections of liberty. That should worry a lot of people.
Well, I think in the millennial generation, you have a nice backlash against this. I mean, yeah, you got about 78% of them are going down the Bernie route. But I think the other 10 to 20% end up like you and I, where it is so blatantly obvious to us that we're fearsome. We're like the Sons of Liberty, part deux.
Part deux.
Like, sorry, I mean, I don't know why. I had to go French there. I had to give an homage to Voltaire. But the ideas are so blatant. They're in our face. And I think it's what motivates us.
Right. I would agree. And the lucky part about that 10% versus that 80% is at least the people who are on the libertarian side believe in actual work ethic, where the people on the Bernie side tend to believe that everything should be handed to them. And that's a big difference when it comes to political activism.
Exactly. I mean, and to anyone who's on the fence, let me just throw this out there. Liberty doesn't come with any force. Socialism does. Bernie Sanders does. He may be great at diagnosing problems, but he is terrible at his solutions, because his solutions, you must fit into a narrow mold or not at all. If you don't believe me, check out Stalin. Heck, you know what? Forget Stalin. Forget all those old tired ones. Just check out modern day Venezuela. See how they're doing. I'm not even going to try and lead you. Just go. Google Venezuela. You don't have to Google anything. Just Venezuela.
Yep.
You'll find all you need.
Yeah, and there's one last thing I wanted to cover from the convention before we go into the nonsense that happened around the convention, because there was some pretty good stuff that happened there too. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was in regards to the nomination ceremony, when the states were actually going up there and saying, from California we have 10 votes Trump and blah, 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 blah. Every convention has this weird theatrical part right before the state announces how many people voted for who, or how many delegates were where. There were two states that had some major issues go on, and it was Alaska again. Alaska just had a rough time, and I actually had a rough time because I was an Alaskan delegate at the Libertarian National Convention, so we had a rough time there too, so I don't know if maybe it's the state of Alaska, but I digress. Basically, the state of Alaska has 28 delegates, right? And through their process of voting in their state convention, they were supposed to be allocated 12 Cruz, 11 Trump, and 5 Rubio. Well, they announced this to Reince Priebus, and Reince comes back and says, 28 Trump. And they're over here like, the fuck? Like, what? No, that's not what we said. And so they got pretty angry. And then, Washington, D.C., for those of you guys don't know, they get delegates as well. They have 19. And they go up there and they go 10 Rubio, 9 Kasich. And then Reince comes back, 19 Trump. And they're like, fuck?
No.
What? Like, no, that's not at all.
That didn't happen.
Right? Well, apparently the RNC National decided and interpreted the state party rules to say that because there is no other candidate running, that all the delegates have to be placed for the only person who is currently running. And each party had something to say about that, right? They both said that the arcane party rules allowed the RNC National to overrule their parties, right? And one guy went as far to say, let me find the quote here, that it has reinforced my previous conception that you cannot trust this party to do the honorable thing and act in a responsible manner. And that's a DC delegate, last name Hammond. Let me see if I can find his first name here really quick. But when you have your own delegates in your party saying that you can't trust the party to do what's right, why would anybody want to be a party or associated with the GOP? The GOP will go the way of the Whigs because they have no reverence for their people. It has now become nothing more than an embodiment thing that needs to be existing as opposed to an expression of its people.
You know, I think people think when they sign their name on the GOP registration card, they're joining the party of Lincoln. What they don't realize, they're really right now they're joining the party of Roosevelt. Yeah. I think that's the mistake they're making, and that's I see a lot of parallels to Teddy Roosevelt, and some people say, yeah, he was a great loud man, but the progressivism he pushed, we are still fighting today.
Absolutely.
And I think the false premise of the small government supposed party pushing progressivism is very dangerous. It's an incredibly dangerous precedent.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but right now, guys, the only person batting for small government is Gary Johnson. You don't have a choice. He may not be the most exciting guy, but damn it, he's got your back.
Yeah. And he's the only one currently that stands for the individual rights of everybody. He doesn't pick subclasses. He doesn't think people belong in subgroups where they're protected more than others. Everybody's an individual, and that's why we have the right to protect them. And that's why they must be protected. I've gone on rants about that on Facebook. If you guys are friends with me, you've probably seen it about how individual rights are so sacred, and that is the only right that needs its defense. There is no other right beyond the individual that is more important. But, now let's step away from the RNC. Let's talk about some of the fun things that happen, because I think there's some people that just get tired in dealing with the corruption and coercion that go on. Did you see the video of Alex Jones? And he's sitting out there protesting. There's these commies out there, and he's got a bullhorn. He's right in their face. And somebody says something stupid, and they put their hands on Alex. And to quote Eric July of Backwards, he said, Alex Jones opens the pit on commies. It looked like it went into straight mosh, dude. If you put some hardcore music on the background, everybody's just swinging on each other. Alex Jones gets thrown in this mob. It was a great video.
Was that before or after he crashed the Young Turks party?
This is before. This is a couple days ago. I believe that Young Turks video happened today. And if you guys didn't see that, Cenk Uygur sitting there filming his Young Turks. And what was the shirt that he was wearing? That Alex was wearing?
Well, he wasn't wearing, but he came up and he went to advertise a show. The blue and red hope? Well, it was a picture of Bill Clinton, and it just said rape. And as dark as that is, that's fucking hilarious.
If you guys haven't seen the video, go watch it, because it turns into an all-out brawl. Somebody's calling Alex Jones a fat fuck on camera, which, call a spade a spade. And Cenk Uygur sitting there, get off my stage, get off my stage. And then all of a sudden you have Roger Stone come out from the fucking bleachers, shockingly enough.
And of all things, I don't know why he was shouting it, but maybe it was like a Wizard of Oz. If you wish it 3 times, it happens. But he just shouts, blowjob, blowjob, blowjob. I don't know what happened.
Was he asking Cenk for a blowjob? That's a story that needs to be reported.
It was by far the most exciting bum fight in all of Cleveland.
I don't know about that, because there was another very, very exciting bum fight, and this had nothing to do with the Republicans. This is even better.
This is true.
This actually resulted to primal fecal matter flying. It wasn't fecal matter. They were throwing urine at each other, and this is coming by way of the AP and New York Post. This is their headline. Members of the KKK, Black Lives Matter, and Westboro Baptist Church reportedly throwing urine at each other outside RNC. Is that not the greatest article you probably could have ever read?
So, how does one throw urine? Do they piss into a cupped hand?
I was thinking Molotov cocktails, but instead of lighter fluid, you just urinate in it and then put a wet, dirty paper towel on the top.
That's That's it. I mean, you got to think too with those KKK uniforms. You know, a good asparagus-soaked yellow bomb would really do some damage.
Yeah, then they look like some kind of Chinese version of the. Oh God, there goes the racist jokes again. We're never getting hired anywhere.
Well, let's since we're gonna talk race a little bit and we're bouncing all over the place. I just want to say to anyone who's seen any of the wonderful Black Lives Matter protests, I got stuck behind a very infamous Black Lives Matter protest. The one in Portland happened right on Commercial Street, and that's getting shared by 9/11 something, but it's got over 1 million views right now. And yeah, there's cars driving through these Black Lives Matter protests, but that's not the funny part, and that's not the weird part. The funny part is everyone's done it. I did. I got out of my car and played this game. We played Count the Black People. Of 200 people there for a Black Lives Matter protest, I counted 5 black people. Now, there must have been at least another 100 to 150 hipster, under age of 30 white people, and a few mixed others.
Does anything say white privilege, like being part of a Black Lives Matter movement? Just that's like a serious question. Like, it's funny that being of Hispanic heritage, and I know people are looking at me, look Hispanic. I get it. I get that all the time. My last name is Fairfield. The IW.
You're Hispanic?
Yeah, I'm 50% Mexican, second generation United States, and then on the other side, I'm 25% Italian. Yeah, dude. There's barely any white of me, but I get told all the time that I can't relate. Yeah, I get told all the time that I can't represent my Mexican heritage. Okay, thanks, white privilege professor. Like, you're telling me that I can't associate with? So the same thing goes to them. It's like all these white guys that are sitting out there with their fucking Ray-Ban glasses with no lenses, their fucking calf-high jean shorts rolled up, and their stupid mustaches. Like, get over yourselves. You're not helping anything. And not only that, like, you've associated with a group of people who have been extremely militant, extremely hostile, and that haven't actually done anything. They've done nothing but create division, and that's the honest truth. It's not that, you know, I can find things to agree with in some of the Black Lives Matter, but I will never agree with their tactics. I will never agree with the way they go about it, and I'll never agree with having violence in any kind of protest.
Look, Tiananmen Square, one man standing in front of a tank holding some groceries. That was powerful. Pack full of assholes blocking a freeway. Not powerful.
No.
In fact, I want to thank the person who had the balls to drive right through them. I didn't. I pulled over and I got out of my car because I wanted to poke around and see what the commotion was about. But if I had realized it was a Black Lives Matter protest at first, I probably would have driven my car through it because it's covered in libertarian bumper stickers. I think
we also clarify you don't mean full throttle. We don't mean full throttle driving.
No, nobody can drive more than 15 miles per hour through the old port anyways. Like, I'm not. If you saw, it was a very gentle. It was really funny. Is there was 4 people on the front of the car trying to push the car back, and this one chubby white girl with an ACLU vest videotaping the whole thing going, "Oh, I'm gonna sue you." And this little old woman is just like, wants to go home. She just wants to go home and watch her Golden Girls reruns. And there are all these hipsters with septum piercings and blue hair, and they're going, "I don't know what to do since Bernie's out."
Yeah,
it's just piling onto her car, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Portland is full of them. I'd say, you know what? I'll take the illegals that Trump doesn't want, and I'll trade them for the SJWs that Portland's full of.
Yeah.
They work hard.
Yeah, absolutely. They're a net positive in the economy, actually. You know, and let's kind of wrap this up. I want to talk about one more thing before we jump off here.
Well, who haven't we offended yet? Because I feel like we're going like South Park here. We're getting
we have a long time to start offending everybody. That's our goal here, is to make sure that everybody's offended equally.
Hey, well, let's throw some piss. Did you catch the picture that Austin Peterson put out where it says about modern liberals and racism? I can't remember exactly what it said. But my goodness, it looked like he was about to drop an album.
It did. I didn't see that picture. It was pretty fun. I think he said something to the effect that today's modern
Like
liberal is against guns unless it's for the police. It was something along those lines. I don't remember the exact quote. It was obviously better than one I just came.
Oh no, it said all cops are no, the modern liberal believes
yes.
all cops are racist, and the racist was really big, but it almost looked like Rascal Flatts the way it was lettered, and that's what made it so confusing. And then it says except, and they're the only ones who get to have guns.
Yeah, something like that. I think that was much closer.
Something along that, yeah. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's coming out in a few weeks. It's gonna be a grand old time. If anyone's wondering what Austin's up to.
Yeah. So checking a look at that. The last thing I want to talk about though, real quick, before we wrap this up and make our plea for people to help fight for liberty, I want to give you guys kind of something to think about. For anybody who is on the fence of whether or not they still belong in the GOP, can I let you know of some of the things that are in their platform that they passed at this convention? And in terms specifically to individual freedom that they claim to believe, right? And limited government that they claim to believe, except for in the lives of the LGBT community. And we're not LGBT warriors. We're not people who go out there, like Keith said. We're not for the social justice warriors, but we're for the right to be an individual, right to be different, right? You have the right to bodily autonomy to do with yourself as you please. And I'd like to read some things about the platform that kind of struck me as completely counter to that initiative. The platform demands that lawmakers use religion as a guide when legislating or stipulating laws, and the quote says that man-made law must be consistent with God-given natural rights. Now, you may read that as God-given natural rights. Yeah, that's what it says in our Constitution. However, they are directly making a link to God-given principles, right? It's fine that God-given's in the Constitution. We can argue that at a different time. But my point being here that they have now changed. This was not in their bylaws or in their platform in 2012 and 2016. But it is in 2016. The other thing they said is that pornography is a public menace, especially harmful to children. Now, regardless of what you believe on pornography, and we can argue that all day long, that's still not government's role. Government's role is not to invade your private space or your bedroom. That's not their role. And that is their platform.
And we all know what happens to children who are exposed to pornography at an early age. They become libertarians. That's a joke.
Yes, it is. Well,
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people were exposed to James Weeks. Still not as embarrassing as Trump's behavior.
Fair point. But the most atrocious thing that is in this, that is in the platform, that has been so far pushed to the right, and we could talk about traditional family values and the value of that and how that relates to liberty. But still, again, the government has no role in your in your bedroom. You can privately think those things, and you can live your life that way and go for it. But you don't have a right to direct other people's lives. And listen to how they word this, because they try to play a little bit of word manipulation. They say additional provisions include those that promote state laws to limit which restrooms transgender people could use, and nodded to conversion therapy for gays by saying that parents should be free to make medical decisions about their children without interference, and stated that natural marriage between a man and a woman is most likely to result in offspring who do not become drug addicted or otherwise damaged. So their theory is that they're trying to protect the public from being drug addicted and otherwise damaged with denying rights to people to be in love with each other. But they also make a push and a nod for conversion therapy. If you guys haven't read my article about why 5 reasons Mike Pence is a big government butthead, and I wrote that for Liberty Viral, if you guys want to check that out, go over there. I talk about the fact that in his 2000 campaign for Congress, he had a push for conversion therapy. He wanted to use federal funds for conversion therapy. He wanted to take it away from Planned Parenthood and push it toward conversion therapy. So if you at all fall in line with believing that you have the individual rights, even if you're not in favor of gay marriage personally, but you believe in individual rights and that the government doesn't have a role in that, that's fine. But you cannot stand for the GOP that's allowing this kind of crap to be put into their bylaws. And the funniest thing and the most ironic thing for me is the fact that now Donald Trump is their nominee. Donald Trump, who's been married 3 times and has been married multiple times and has kids with 3 of them, right? Donald Trump, who is married to a foreign model who, we don't know what her motives are, but we can all insinuate. Donald Trump, who has been the least kind person when it comes to sensitivity and not making fun of journalists with disabilities, right? this is the person they're pushing in there.
That was a Donald Trump impression, by the way. That was not making fun of the journalist.
I just want people to realize what the platform stands for of their party. You may think that Donald Trump stands for what he talks about, but look at the party platform. Even if you believe what Donald Trump stands for, look at the party platform. That's what represents you. So we're going to make this last pitch plea before we get off air. Make sure that you fully understand what it is to be an individual. There's nothing more important, there's nothing more sacred than being an individual and having the right to do so. The government has no other role but to protect individual rights, that being the right to property and personal property, meaning your life and everything thereof. I don't know about you, Keith, but that's something that I'll stand for the day I die, and I think that's the thing that needs to start being talked about more often.
Absolutely, and I think people do need to take a good hard look at their platform. And I think if they read the GOP platform and they find themselves questioning Trump, and they're finding themselves questioning where are their interests actually being defended, I just implore you, maybe you don't like Gary Johnson, maybe you do. He was a Republican once upon a time, and he was a fantastic fiscal conservative. Take a look at him, and when you're done taking a look at him, take a look at the LP platform. The Libertarian platform is fantastic, and I only disagree with a few fine points on it, but that's only because I'm a contrarian like every other libertarian. I think it's a fantastic start, and it's much more clear, it's much more concise, it's much more common sense, and above all, it protects individual liberty just as our founding fathers set out to do. I mean, I think right now you have the Libertarian Party is on the edge of breaking out, and it's breaking out because I think good people are finally waking up. And if you're one of these Republicans that's lost in the wilderness and you're too good for this Trump nonsense, come check us out. If you're in California, talk to Cody. Send him a private message after you watch this. If you're in Maine, if you're in the Northeast, anywhere from Connecticut north, send me a message. We will get you on the path. We'll connect you to our state parties. There are a lot of good young libertarians who are basically taking the Constitution back, because we know if you try and talk the Constitution to the same crowd that showed up at the RNC convention, you're going to get booed, just like Ted Cruz. And vote your conscience, vote your principles, get out there and be involved. Don't sit back and let Trump run away with all this, because America, you're better than that.
It's time to stand for something, guys, and it's time to actually make a difference in the world and stop sitting in our ass and watch everything burn. I don't really have much else to say, Keith. I'll let you close it out. I hope you guys join our fight, join to make liberty viral. That's our goal here. Give it to you, Keith.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you guys for listening. And I mean, if you want to shine some light, do watch Trump's final speech and see if that is the person you want representing you. And when you find it wanting, come check out lp.org. Check out Liberty Coast to Coast. That's coast to the number coast.com. And keep trying to help us make liberty viral. We're on the front here, and these are dire times. Normally, this is where I'd crack a joke and say something like, I'm more humble than you, but that's already implied. All right, everyone. You have yourselves a great night.
Nice talking to you guys. All right, I'm going to stop the broadcast.
All right. I got a little